Hey loves, it's Janelle, your relationship coach here of culture and all things romance through a cultural lens, pop cultural lens that is. Welcome to another episode of Response and React. And listen, Julia Fox has done it again. Her decision to dress up as Jackie Kennedy in the actual blood-stained pink Chanel suit from the JFK assassination, have people talking, and not in a good way. This is one of those moments where performance art crosses over into trauma for an aesthetic. Because let's be real, this isn't bold, it's tone deaf. It's a perfect example of how feminism, often white feminism, mistakes shock value for depth and how empathy gets lost when the goal is attention instead of awareness. So today we're unpacking what happens when making a statement turns into spectacle and why using someone else's tragedy as your costume says a lot more about ego than empowerment. Stick around because this one is quite layered and I think it is very, very relevant in today's landscape.
I actually can't believe what's about to come out of my mouth. Julia Fox dressed up as Jackie Kennedy after her husband was assassinated. Julia wore to Halloween party in New York City last night. I can usually appreciate Julia's humor, but this is disrespectful on so many levels. Yes, the president was assassinated in 1963, but Jackie and JFK still have a daughter who is alive and well, along with 3 grandchildren that are in their early 30s who now have to log on and see this today. So I'm down for a good Halloween costume, but a tragedy, that's not it, Julia.
Julia Fox going as Jackie O for Halloween in the infamous pink suit that is stained with President Kennedy's blood was not only distasteful, but a clear display of white privilege and white feminism. Because it wasn't about her making a statement, right? Like, she does a lot of things to make a statement. Because to take someone else's story, someone else's statement, and to try and make it as a moment for yourself is so entitled and selfish. Jackie O did a very good job of telling her own story on her own. The Smithsonian has done a very good job of documenting the story on their own. So much so that the suit itself is on display currently, right now. The only statement that Julia Fox wanted to make was that, look how smart I am, I know so much, I'm making such a smart statement at this party, I am so deep. I care so much about women and women's rights, look at me. Even though that suit has absolutely nothing to do with women's rights and more so to do with a statement of her own marriage. And if I were a betting woman and I was using my PR and marketing background, I would say that Julia Fox did this so that way the public would see her in a more serious light, which is why when you look at her comments, she's getting hyped up the way her team wanted. This was no more than just a PR move so that way it would ensure that she would get cast in more serious roles. Because she does have what it takes to be a serious actress, but her acting credentials are very small. And when she does get cast in a big role, she is a PR nightmare. She's unintentionally giving bad sound bites, or she's making these huge blunders that just make her look so self-centered and selfish, and giving her zero relatability. And I'm not saying that there's any talks or speculations of a Jackie O movie in the mix. I don't know if there is. But this is giving the same as when we see Jacob Elordi with a book in his back pocket, just to make a statement. You know what I mean? And there are better ways to come off as a woman who knows her shit. But I guess they just took a shot in the dark and said that this was going to be the costume for her.
Julia Fox showed up on Halloween wearing Jackie Kennedy's exact outfit from the day JFK was, that day, just covered in blood. Like, what was the brainstorm here? You looked at one of America's darkest moments and said, yeah, that'll look cute. That's not edgy. That's a cry for headlines.
So my question is, when Julia Fox walked into the party dressed as blood-soaked Jackie Kennedy from President Kennedy's assassination, why was she not kicked out the party? So last night, Julia Fox attended the Kurtz Amlitz Halloween party. She decided that she wanted to dress as Jackie Kennedy in her blood-soaked approved Chanel dupe. So, a fun fact, Jackie Kennedy wasn't even supposed to wear this outfit on the day that President Kennedy was assassinated. She had worn this outfit at least 6 other times, and it was an approved Chanel copy. So the outfit was not a Chanel original, right? Okay. They had 2 other outfits laid out for her. She refused it and said, I'm going to put on the Chanel copycat. And I want to make it very clear that the outfit is still in the Museum of National Archive, right? Like, it's not just floating around. People's trauma is not a costume. And to be clear, Jackie Kennedy's trauma goes far deeper than what you could even surmise in your brain, right? Like, we have a diary entry from First Lady Lady Bird Johnson where she details how Jackie Kennedy actually put herself on top of President Kennedy's body. You can read the whole thing, but she says here, it was Mrs. Kennedy lying over the president's body. Mrs. Kennedy's dress was stained with blood, Lady wrote. One leg was almost entirely covered with it, and her right glove was caked. It was caked with blood, her husband's blood. And I don't know who the stylist friend is here fixing the hair. What are we fixing? This should not be a costume. Brick, brick, brick. Fire everybody.
I just saw Julia Fox's costume, if you want to call that. Well, she didn't call it a costume, so forgive me. I just saw what Julia Fox wore for Halloween, which was dressing as First Lady Jackie O. Kennedy, in the same outfit that she wore when her husband, President John F. Kennedy, was assassinated, including the bloodstains. Because if you all didn't know, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas in November 1963, publicly in a parade, the blood splattered on the First Lady, and she kept the outfit on with the blood to show people just how brutal the violence was committed against her husband, even against being advised, of people telling her, take it off, whatever. No, she's like, no, I want to show this. So Julia Fox wore that, and she's getting a lot of critique for it. But I think this is one of those things that it's fair. People want to find it insensitive and they don't like it, but it's really one of those things where I think because that was such a monumental moment in American history, because people have made jokes about that assassination. Like, that's not a new thing. Like, there's a very famous, actually, TikTok video making a joke about John F. Kennedy's assassination, which I'm saying it's not a funny situation in reality, but the jokes, I ain't gonna lie, I laugh. But I'm saying I think it's up to the Kennedy family to decide whether they believe that Julia Fox's outfit, costume, wardrobe, whatever you want to call it, whether they find it to be wrong or not. And if they find it to be wrong and distasteful and insensitive, then, Julia Fox has to address that. But if just people in general are just finding a problem with it, it's like, so what?
I was gonna come on here and rant about my biggest pet peeve about Halloween, and that is when parents make it all about themselves. So you'll see young families, mainly influencers, and you could tell these kids have no idea what their costume is, and they're just in this costume because it matches or goes with mom's costume, and mom's the center of attention. That was my Halloween ick, right? And I don't know why, it's just always something that's really bothered me since influencer culture has popped up. But then I saw, and I didn't even think about this aspect of it, but offensive Halloween costumes. Julia Fox dressing up as Jackie Kennedy the day that JFK was assassinated is diabolical. Is that the right word? And I don't want to be I don't want to say the wrong things or be too unhinged about my response to this, but I'm going to show you her costume. And obviously these two topics aren't comparable. I'm just kind of telling you how much it made it seem moms being the center of attention on Halloween wasn't as bad as I was making it out to be after I saw this. Okay, so Julia Fox from People dressed up as a blood-soaked Jackie Kennedy on the day of her husband, President John F. Kennedy's assassination, for Halloween. This is not a costume. And this is demented and demonic, and we know that demented and demonic people live in our world every single day. But think about, I'm not trying to compare, but when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I couldn't look away. I just stared at the wall all night, and it took me weeks to process what happened. And obviously things came up about JFK during that time, and I just feel his wife was sitting right next to him. Jackie Kennedy was sitting right next to him as he was assassinated, and Jackie Kennedy obviously had blood on her clothes from it. And for Julia Fox to make that a Halloween costume and parade it around, it's insensitive, it's disgusting, it's diabolical, it's just so many things. But it's not fashion, it's not cool, it's not whatever she thought she was going to be, it's not edgy, it's really horrific. And there are so many Kennedy family members that are still alive that are going to see that, and it's just Oh my God, could you imagine somebody like mocking and putting on a costume and thinking it's chic or something of one of your worst days of your life, your most traumatic moments ever? I don't know, it's just really on like levels of things, this is pretty bad, like pretty bad.
All hate to Julia Fox. Like, seriously, I cannot stand her. But her Halloween costume was distasteful. I can't believe that y'all are just now deciding to not like her when literally all she ever does is complain about everything. I always see her in comments and she's like, well, first of all, I started hating her when she said men can't get essayed. I was like, are you serious? Like, what? You claim to be some outright, like, high-level feminist, and then you say shit like that. Like, you cannot... If the whole point is equality, how are you going to put other people's trauma above other people's trauma or below other people's trauma? You can't do that. Like, that is just so far out of left center. Your Halloween costume, like I said, was distasteful. It was gross. It basically was trying to glamorize one of the worst moments in a person's life, and quite frankly just made you look trashy. It did. Sorry, not sorry. Honestly, I need to block her because I'm tired of seeing her comments. Actually,
Jack Schlossberg slams Julia Fox's bloody Jackie Kennedy Halloween costume as desperate and disgusting. JFK's grandson said the assassination-themed costume glorifies political violence, though Fox insists it's a statement on Jackie's bravery. Jack Schlossberg is disappointed with how Julia Fox chose to celebrate Halloween. The 32-year-old grandson of President John F. Kennedy criticized Fox 35 after she attended a party on October 30th wearing a blood-spattered costume of former First Lady Jackie Kennedy in the aftermath of her husband's assassination. Fox donned a replica of the famous pink Chanel suit Jackie wore on November 22, 1963, the day Lee Harvey Oswald fatally shot JFK while he and his wife were riding in a motorcade through Dallas. Julia Fox glorifying political violence is disgusting, desperate, and dangerous, Schlossberg reacted in a Friday, October 31st post on X. I'm sure her late grandmother would agree. Schlossberg's remark was posted 1 minute before Fox shared more context about her costume choice in a lengthy Instagram post. I'm dressed as Jackie Kennedy in pink, in the pink suit, not as a costume, but as a statement, Fox wrote. When her husband was assassinated, she refused to change out of her blood-stained clothes, saying, I want them to see what they've done. The image of the delicate pink suit splattered with blood is one of the most haunting juxtapositions in modern history, because she continued. Beauty and horror, poise and devastation. Her decision not to change clothes, even after being encouraged to, was an act of extraordinary bravery, Fox said. It was performance, protest, and warning all at once. A woman weaponizing image and grace to expose brutality. It's about trauma, power, and how femininity itself is a form of resistance. Long live Jackie O. As Fox noted, Jackie did stay in the suit following her husband's assassination, even after she was presented another option to wear. The former First Lady was photographed in the outfit next to incoming President Lyndon B. Johnson right after JFK's death. They actually had another dress laid out for her to put on, and she refused, historian Steve Gillen told People in November 2022. She went out in her blood-stained suit and stood next to Lyndon Johnson. Despite these horrible circumstances, she was willing to stand for a photo because she understood what it meant for the nation to have continuity in government, Gillen said. The dress was never cleaned after the president's death and was eventually sent to the National Archives, still bloody, around July 1964. The dress remains there to this day. Schlossberg recently defended his late grandmother in response to President Donald Trump's plan to demolish parts of the historic Rose Garden beside the West Wing and the namesake Jacqueline Kennedy Garden beside the East Wing. After Trump altered the Kennedy-era gardens as part of his plans to create a new patio space and $300 million ballroom, Schlossberg spoke out on Instagram. My grandmother saw America in full color. Trump sees black and white, he said. Where she planted flowers, he poured concrete. She brought life to the White House because our landmarks should inspire and grow with our country, he continued. Her rose garden is gone, but the spirit of the Kennedy White House lives on, in the young at heart, the strong in spirit, and in a new generation answering the call to service. He concluded, a year from now, we'll get our last chance to stop Trump. History is watching. We need leaders with courage, conviction, and who actually care. I don't really agree with her costume choice, but who am I?
Behold, Julia Fox dressed as like Jackie O post-assassination. The sickest, I'm gonna cover up the stain. The sickest part about this shit is this is probably one of the best outfits Jackie wore the whole time. And it's unfortunately associated with the worst moment of the presidency. This is Julia's response. She's getting a lot of backlash, which is expected, because you dressed as Jackie O with her husband's headshot, blood on her. But she's saying it's because
she wanted the world to see what they had did to Jack. And I've watched enough Jackie O documentaries to know that this is true. And she's talking about beauty and pain and poise and devastation and all the things. They actually, during that time, tried to get Jackie to like leave the situation, and she wouldn't leave. They had to just escort her off the, like, at the hospital. She was there the entire time and refused to take the fit off, right? I just kind of feel like this really sums up white feminism. This whole thing. Because it'd be like, okay, I see where you're going. I think we could have done something different. You know, like that. This is it. This is white feminism.
Julia Fox is receiving a lot of backlash after she posted her Halloween costume portraying to be JFK. Rest in peace to the late, great JFK, who was unalived, and she was sitting right next to him. So I can't post the whole video due to TikTok, but you'll get the idea. Let's go.
No.
All right, well, y'all see it right there. I want to know what y'all think. Did she go too far with that? And they said this was right after JFK's assassination. Like, they said that his family was definitely not feeling it. And my condolences going out to the JFK family. I can just imagine how the Kennedys feel seeing someone do this for a Halloween costume. Was this too far, or are people just being too sensitive? Did you like the outfit or no?
Why are we wearing another woman's trauma as a Halloween costume? And then y'all wonder why aliens don't talk to us because we're always on some BS. Julia Fox dressed up as Jackie Kennedy post JFK getting with his cranberry juice, if you will, all over her outfit, right? This was a very iconic moment in history for horrific reasons, obviously, and Julia Fox decided to make that her Halloween costume this year. As for why Julia decided to dress up as this version of Jackie Kennedy, she wrote, when her husband was assassinated, she refused to change out of her blood-stained clothes, saying, I want them to see what they've done. Her decision not to change clothes, even after being encouraged to, was an act of extraordinary bravery. It was performance, protest, and mourning all at once. It's about trauma, power, and how femininity itself is a form of resistance. None of that justifies cosplaying somebody on the worst day of their lives, by the way. Be that as it may, people are split on this issue, y'all. Some feel like this was hella offensive and that Julia missed the mark, whereas other people feel like she was paying homage to a historical figure and that she did no wrong. My question is, why could she have not just worn the pink suit, and then if she wanted to make it scary, then be like a zombie Jackie Kennedy or something? You didn't have to cosplay her as that particular moment in time. That's just my 2 cents, though. Let me know what y'all think down below.
Let's jump into my favorite part of all of the content I post on YouTube, and that's just my thoughts, where I get to kind of express what I feel about whatever we have read or gone over. So let's get into it. All right, so I needed to do another Halloween excerpt or expose or post about some of the things celebs did this year for Halloween. And in this case, we are looking at Julia Fox. So quick background on Julia Fox. She has been in the entertainment realm for a while. I know she is more artistically aligned, and she has been, friends with celebrities for several years. She is most notably known by most of us for her very short stint of when she dated Kanye West, when he and Kim Kardashian were separated. I want to say that was about 3 or 4 years ago, when Kanye was just dating multiple women at times, and it seems like he was, trolling Kim online and all these things. It was before they were officially divorced. So Julia Fox and Kanye did date for just a few months, and it was like early in that year. It was like a January, February, March, if I recollect. If my recollection serves me well. So she became more in the public eye and not just on the more of the periphery or in the very niche specific art scene she was aligned with. She is an actress, I believe. of course, that's where most people who do know her name, that's where they know her from, is the time that she dated Kanye, and, you know, just her and him not staying together a very long time. Anyway, to pivot to this, I thought this would be a great thing to highlight because there's so many intersections in this discourse about what she did. So Julia Fox decided to wear a replica of the pink, I believe it's Chanel suit that Jackie Kennedy was wearing the day that her husband and then President John F. Kennedy Jr. was assassinated. So it was really distasteful. I think JFK was her husband. So it was really distasteful to see that, because that is such a mockery of such a turning event that happened in United States history. And Jackie Kennedy did wear that outfit with him the whole, like right after the assassination happened, riding with him. There's pictures of her staying in that suit for quite a while. So it is truly a traumatic event that if there are people who are alive today, of course, that remember when that actually happened. I know my parents are they're older, they're in their 80s, so they remember, late 70s, so they remember when that happened. So a lot of people want to do things just for social media attention or what they call artistic expression. And I think that is what Julia Fox was going for, but it did not work out the way, she thought it was going to work out. So I wanted to highlight 5 really important points from something like this, because I think it is relevant to the socio-political climate that we live in today and crossing lines with social media. So number 1, trauma is not an aesthetic in your dating life or in your real life. Using pain as a performance piece may get attention, and that's exactly what it did in this case, but it doesn't build connection. In relationships, oversharing unprocessed trauma or performing victimhood for validation can repel genuine intimacy. Remember, true healing isn't performative. It's private, it's grounded, and it's sacred. So I think that's exactly what Julia did here, just in a life representation of it. She wanted to get attention. She wanted to be thought of as creative and innovative for wearing this costume. And it was not received well by many. Second point I wanted to bring up is self-expression requires emotional intelligence. Like Julia's statement costume, people often conflate shock value with depth. In dating, that looks like using blunt honesty, air quotes, or hyper independence as armor, when sometimes people's honesty, air quotes, is just them being an asshole who lacks any empathy, filter, or just sense. Expression without empathy isn't confidence, it's carelessness. Okay, so being emotionally intelligent means reading the room and respecting others' lived experiences. Third thing I think is very important to see here is intention versus impact. Accountability is sexy. Julia may have intended to make a statement, which I truly believe she did, but the impact caused harm. Similarly, in relationships, intentions don't erase effect. You know what I mean? You can mean well and still cause emotional bruises. Accountability, not defensiveness, is what keeps love and respect intact. And I think where she went with this particular costume, it just didn't do what she thought it was going to do. Number 4, stop centering yourself in other people's stories. This is a big one, because this costume is a representation of a whole entire traumatic relevant event in history that happened. And she turned another woman's trauma into her art moment. Like, wow. And Julia Fox is old enough to know better. And I've heard her speak in interviews. I don't believe that woman lacks intelligence. I think she is quite smart. So I don't think she did this ignorant of understanding the potential impact. So in love, we do this too, projecting our narrative onto our partners, expecting them to play the role we wrote, is a big problem with a lot of people's relationships today. True partnership requires curiosity over control and witnessing over rewriting. So let people be the main character of their own healing, something I know many of us struggle to do. And the last point I wanted to bring about with this is depth without decency is just performance. We live in an age that glorifies vulnerability when it's on display, but authenticity without integrity is still manipulation. The most magnetic energy in dating isn't who can perform wokeness or emotional awareness. It's who can demonstrate consistent respect, humility, and care when nobody's watching. So I just thought this was a very big intersection of a lot of points, and I wanted to relate it to dating. And the last point I want to bring out is more about, bonus point, is more of a social thing that I believe we are witnessing today, and I'll relate it to another video I did, is Julia Fox lives in a space where she is a white woman. So she is living with white privilege, which covers a lot of her actions. And therefore, she can lean into things that are clearly inappropriate and offensive, i.e. what she chose to wear for Halloween, and have this air of forgiveness or palatability applied to it that isn't okay, and it's not appropriate, and she needs to have more self-awareness about that as she moves in society, especially as someone who is in the public eye. So let me know your thoughts about this one below, and what you think of her wearing this costume, and if you have ever done things like this. Not wear a costume that is a display of somebody's trauma, but just in life and relationships, if any of your behaviors have done something like this. They've taken a moment of somebody else's tragedy and you used it for a stepping stone for something you were trying to present. Curious to know your thoughts. That one was a lot to unpack, and honestly, I think it was necessary. It reminds us that awareness without empathy isn't evolution. Julia Fox's statement might have been meant to be art, but it's also a mirror showing how often people glamorize pain, especially in this social media era, without ever sitting with its weight. And that's the same thing I help my coaching clients and coffee community unpack, the difference between performing growth and actually embodying it. So if you're ready to go deeper, to explore reflective questions, guided prompts, and conversations that help you show up more grounded, conscious, and emotionally intelligent, come join my exclusive coffee community. You'll get access to interactive activities, journal entries, reflection tools, coaching tools, and so many other things that'll help you navigate modern relationships and public discourse with the same insight we dive into here, but tailored to your real life. The links are below. Also, remember to drop a comment. Curious about your thoughts on this one.